Hey, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, depending on where you might be joining us from in the world today. My name is Meg Alexander. I am part of Power to Fly's virtual hosting team. And I am, as always, honored and excited to get to host another Power to Fly Chat and Learn virtual event. Now, just to give y'all some context, like I said, my name is Meg. I'm a 37-year-old white woman. I have pink and purple hair. I have blue glasses on and a black patterned sweater. Now, as we go through, I'm really excited to welcome y'all to today's event with Peggy Tan from EnerSys. But before we dive into to today's subject, I just want to go over some quick housekeeping items. This will be especially important if maybe today is your first Power to Fly event. And if that's the case, then welcome. We're so happy to meet you today. Now, the love is no less real for my frequent flyers out there. I love seeing our familiar names and faces in the chat. So Jabran, see you there. Thank you so much for joining us again. Thank you so much. Now, regardless of whether this is your first event or your 40th, we want to make sure that you know these events are all about you. So you are welcome to participate in any way you would like. There's a couple different options. If you would like, you're welcome to turn your cameras on, share your smiling, maskless faces with us safely. Now, truly, no need to be Instagram perfect. I'm on, oh man, I think like day 4 of the dry shampoo messy bun combo. So truly, y'all, no need to stand on ceremony. We just want to meet you where you are. Now, if you don't want to join with your camera, that's okay. You don't have to. You can always join in on the chat. I'd love to see everybody chiming in there. Please feel free. Go ahead over there and let us know where you're calling from. I'm coming to you from Toledo, Ohio. This is land that belonged to the Fox, Kickapoo, and Potawatomi tribes in my area. So if you'd like to share, please let us know where you're dialing in from. And if you know, you're welcome to share whose land you're on. Now, we are recording this event today. And what that means for all of you is you don't have to take notes. You get to sit back, you get to relax, enjoy the conversation that I'm about to have with Peggy, and not worry if you missed a reference that somebody made or a resource they listed. Now, what's going to happen is everybody that registered, whether you showed up or not, it's okay. Don't hold it against you. Everybody that registered is going to get an email from Power to Fly in about 4 to 5 business days. And it will have a link to where you can rewatch this recording when we post it on our main website. Now, that's awesome. I very much recommend you check out our website. We have the entire archive of recorded events there. So huge library of resources for all of you. But let's say that Peggy says something so mind-blowing that you cannot wait 4 to 5 business days to share it with a friend or a coworker or a relative. You don't have to. So you can always head over to our YouTube channel. I'll share links for this as we go through the chat as we go through today's event. But you can head to our YouTube channel. The video will be posted usually within about an hour or 2 of the end of the live stream. And there's a huge segment of our archives on that in that YouTube channel as well. So you can always check out some of our cool free content there. Now, like I said, please feel free to keep the chat hopping. Let us know. Oh, sorry, y'all. It's the end of my day and I'm a little bit sleepy. So just let us know if you've got questions, ask them in the chat. All right. I'm going to be monitoring over in there. Happy to ask any questions that y'all want. If you have a question or a comment that you'd like raised, but you want to be kept anonymous, no problems. Just DM me. You can find my name, Meg Alexander, in the dropdown, and I am happy to do that for you. All right. Now, before I introduce you to our speaker, I just want to say real quick that she is here today on behalf of EnerSys. Now, EnerSys is an industrial technology leader serving the global community with mission-critical stored energy solutions that meet the growing demand for energy efficiency, reliability, and sustainability. They are driven by a passion to provide people everywhere with accessible power to help them work and live better. Now, I'm very excited to introduce you to our fabulous speaker today. Obviously, Peggy Tan is here on behalf of EnerSys. Peggy is a professional development manager for them, and for over 20 years, Peggy has been a strong advocate for continuous learning and development. Now, she brings extensive experience in talent management and organization development across industries. Peggy believes in the beauty of seeing the good of others, recognizing their strengths, complementing one another's area of development, and learning from one another and honoring individuals for who they are. Peggy, I'm so happy to welcome you to the stage today. Is there anything else that you'd like our audience to know about you before we dive into questions?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Matt. Hi, everyone. Just to let you know, Currently, I'm in Sydney. Just last week, I was in USA, so there is quite a fair bit of jet lag. I hope I am on my top form today, and I'm glad to be here to share with you in terms of professional and personal learning and development. This is an area that I'm very passionate about, and I felt that it is a key area that each and every one of us should really look into. So I would like to hear from you, as well as if you have any questions, feel free to just ask.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank y'all for chiming in the chat there. I see we've got people coming in from Ontario as well as Boston. Thank you so, so much for joining us, y'all. All right, so to dive into questions, and y'all sent some really great ones. So if you have questions and you're not sure if we're going to get to your question today, please feel free to ask it in the chat. If we're going over your question, but maybe we're coming at it from the wrong direction, or there's some extra context or detail you could give us, please feel free to add that in the chat as we go. And truly, I'll ask about anything and everything you want to know today. I want to make sure that we bring you the value that you came to get from today's event. All right, so the first question that we got here is kind of a doozy. This person says, in a rapidly evolving industry, how can professionals stay adaptable while pursuing both immediate and long-term skill development? So this is, kind of the age-old question, right? Do you plan long-term or do you try and work in the short term? How do you think professionals can do this best?
This is definitely a great question because many of us probably are really stuck into our day-to-day jobs, and we are also very ambitious and wanting to have a good career in the long run. So having said that, it is important to actually look at both, in the short term as well as in the long term. I'm sure all of us will agree. In the short term, it means that in your current job, what are some skills and competency that you need to have in order to do your job well, or even to contribute to your team and your organization. And I think one good way to actually do that is really be open to people around you, have different perspective, and do not be afraid to ask questions if you are not sure or you need some guidance. And other than that, use all the resources that your organization have for you, whether is it a chat and learn session like this, or it can be any trainings that your organization send you. And if you are looking at long term, I think, wow, that is something that is good to plan ahead, especially if you are looking at learning new skills as well as taking up maybe different kind of competency. And in the long run, I would say probably you can actually look out for resources that is online, or maybe even join community of practice whereby you will get to learn more about the latest development, whether is it from a technology point of view or even from an environmental point of view. Because in order to say I would say sustainable as well as to be relevant to the market, it is important that we know what is happening out there around the world.
Yeah, I like that. And you're right. It can get kind of overwhelming to try and balance all of these things, but that's okay, right? You don't have to be working full time on one or the other. And I think that, that's a really good way to probably pace yourself a little bit better and be more realistic with yourself, like not trying to hold yourself to too high of a standard too fast, right? All right, so let's talk about what it's like to change careers. This person had wanted to know, how crucial do you think it is to maintain certain foundational skills while I'm learning new ones moving into a different career? I really like this question because there's certain things you have to leave when kind of leave behind when you move into a different field. Do you think that this is a hard and fast rule, or do you think that there are some things that you should kind of bring with you?
I would think that it is very important to be adaptable, and it is also very dependent on, what new industry or new role that you are looking at. If it is something that is similar, obviously, your current skill set will be very important. What you need to do is to build onto that skill set and look at, in the upcoming 3 to 5 years, what are some of the new things that is out there that you really needs to grasp. However, if you're talking about moving into a different career, then I will say that what is important to actually still hold on is the essential, or I would say soft skills, that is always critical no matter which industry that you go to. Whether is it communication, interpersonal skills, negotiation, problem solving, and so forth. And even when it comes to technology, I will say that there are specific, basic skills that you still always need to hone your skills and then pick up the new one. So no matter what industry that you're moving to, I think one of the most important thing is to always keep learning, continuous learning, and always ask people around you, especially you may even want to get a mentor if you're going into a totally new area so that they are able to lead you and share with you their experiences and what are the unique skills that you will need to acquire.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Is this a situation where it would be beneficial to ask, like, hey, what are some of the core soft skills that you expect of someone in this position? Or do you think do you consider that part of the ongoing learning thing of, trying to get your feet in a new setting?
I would think that there are essential skills that definitely no matter where you go, you need to have. However, depending on the industry that you are going, there will be some key things that you really have to learn. So for example, a few years back, I was actually doing coaching for someone that's looking for a job. So he was from a traditional marketing background and decided to actually take up something new or learn new things. But yet he still want to be in the marketing area. So I think one of the things that we explore about is really talking about what's new, what is the new technology that's out there in the market and how has the marketing arena changed in terms of needing to really do online, learn all sorts of virtual skills, as well as also learning new technology. Because marketing today is not just about face-to-face. It is a lot on, how to actually attract people on the line. Because usually most of us will have already know or wanted to buy something. And what we try to do is we just go online to get reconfirmation. And therefore, the online marketing skills is very critical.
That's a good one. I love that tip. Thank you for that. Okay, so let's talk about the current job market as it pertains to junior software engineers, people that are newer in the industry. Do you think there are any specific technical or non-technical skills that those engineers should prioritize to prepare themselves for the job market?
Mm. This is actually a very tricky question because the world is always changing, especially when it comes to technological. No longer we are talking about a few years. Every 3 to 6 months, things have changed. Even though you are right now in the university learning something, I can safely tell you by the time you graduate, probably the world has changed again, and therefore, there's no way that I'm able to tell you what exactly that you need to learn. As of today, I'm sure that learning things about the cloud is very important because right now the common platform is on the cloud. However, you also have to look out to industrial partners or what is happening out there. And I will encourage those software engineers who are junior and coming into the market to actually always look out, to the community of practice for software engineering. So if you were to Google online, you will be able to find that community of practice whereby like-minded people come together to talk about what is the latest technology, what are the changes, and what are the good platform they can use. Even what kind of software is actually more prestigious as compared to others. So I would say you have to stay tuned to the market and always, be on the run, looking at new things that's happening out there. So yes, study hard, in your university, but also make sure that you are always, viewing what's happening out there in the market.
What are some of the ways that you stay up to date when it comes to market trends and shifts in your industry?
So because I'm in the learning and development space as well as organization development, so a lot of time I do subscribe to the community of practice or those, I would say, professional so-called institute as well as a group. So for example, I was in the ATD group as well as the Organization Development Network, whereby I get to learn and hear from different experts because all of these professionals that's in the group, they are actually experienced and they have actually also been through different industry and learned different things as well. They have actually put into practice their skill set, and therefore whenever I have any challenge and I do not have people to bounce idea, my very one first source is actually going to the community of practice. And in fact, in this community of practice, they do have their websites and they do have many other material. Other than that, I also go to the traditional way, going to the library or on the online resource to actually find out information. And I think most importantly is I always look at what is happening happening across the globe. Although I'm stationed in Singapore, but I also want to learn about what is happening in Europe and what is happening in US, because in a few months' time, whatever happens there will actually comes all the way to Asia Pacific. And I'm always prepared to actually to learn more and then to adapt to the environment.
That's a really good point, actually, and not necessarily something I would have thought. I would have thought that most of the shift is going to be coming out of Asia, and that's where a lot of the tech is coming out of. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Very, very valuable info. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about transitioning careers. Now, there are a lot of people poised to be or trying to enter the tech industry right now, and they come from pretty much every industry other than tech as well. What role does showcasing those transferable skills that you might have, what role does that play in securing opportunities if you're jumping into a completely new field?
I would say that when you talk about moving from other industry to a technological role, one of the key things that definitely we are seeing across different industry as well as job is in terms of project management. Reason being, when you are going into a technical role, you don't work alone. In fact, a lot of things that you are doing is part and parcel of a huge project. And therefore, having project management skills is actually very key. And not and other than that, I would say in terms of collaboration as well as time management. And the reason why I talk about time management is also because a lot of time in a project we do have a so-called deadline to actually adhere to. Whether is it you are doing a project that is within your organization or for a customer, time is always the essence. And so one of the basic skills definitely is really managing yourself as well as the time. And I would say importantly, also knowing about how to negotiate. Why negotiation? Because when you are doing a project, you must be realistic and practical. And so you have to negotiate your way to actually get the timeline that you feel will be more comfortable and important to you, so that you do actually meet your so-called objective itself. And other than that, I would say collaboration, because in a project, you actually work with people across department. And if you are working with clients, that's even more important. So be very open-minded. And I think listening skills is one of the key things. The more you listen, the better you know what is happening out there and also what is something that they wanted to achieve. And therefore, you can actually help them to address the area that they're concerned with.
I like that. I think that's a good roundup. Are there any of these skills that you struggled with at any point in your career, either early or at any point?
I would say yes, definitely. In my early days, I would say I'm someone that is very direct. And so a direct person, you just speak to the point. And there are times whereby people feel that I neglected that, I'm a very transactional person, not a humane person. And so they're like, oh, you're always talking about deadline. You're always talking about results. What about other things? Yeah, so it actually took me a while. And one of the things that I actually do for myself is I took a self-assessment. So in the market, there are many profiling assessment that you can actually try. So one of the one that I usually use and recommend is this profiling, DISC, which is something that is very used widely and that's easy to understand. So when you receive your report, you actually get to know about, how you are doing, what are your area of strengths and what are your areas of development. And in fact, when I get the report, I actually share it with a few of my friends whom I really trust. And because there are certain things that I read and I was thinking, I don't think I'm like this. And when I share it with my friends, they were like, oh, you didn't know? You have been like this all the while. So it's like a blind spot. And I think that blind spot is something that I actually learned, because of the report and also because from the feedback that my colleagues and friends have given me. And I think that is very important, because being self-aware is one of the key areas that we all need to have in order to then be able to help us to develop better relationship and also to remind us how to better communicate with others and collaborate with them more cohesively.
Yeah, I very much like that advice. It becomes very difficult to try and improve oneself in any area if you either don't really have an accurate idea of where you are, or if you think you're in a very different place than where you actually are. So I think that's huge. I love that concept. And you're right, there are going to be situations where, there might be personality conflicts or something, but you're right, it kind of goes back to really, really honing in on things like communication and collaboration. I also like that you, a couple of questions ago, you listed innovation as a skill. And I think that's one we definitely don't talk about enough. So I very much appreciate that answer. Awesome. All right, let's see. Okay, so obviously the direction of the talk today is more about planning out your professional and personal development. Have you done this for yourself? And if so, what does that look like for you?
Mm. Yeah, actually, this area, like I mentioned, is a very passionate area of mine because I always believe that, in order to have a good career as well as a ongoing learning journey, you really have to plan ahead. So for myself, what I did usually is I will look at what is happening. And I think one key things that you need to do in terms of laying out your learning plan is explore what is your past, current, and future skill set that is required of you. So you want to take an assessment about, considering your current skill set, how is this current skill set helping you in your current role as well as in your upcoming potential role. So for example, I do have quite a number of queries about I wanted to be a manager, and I feel that I'm better than my managers, and I think I have enough working experience. So why is it that I'm always, pass over when it comes to promotion? This question, I would say that, is relatively so-called unique, yet it can be quite challenging. And the reason is because a lot of time we probably only see we only see the surface of the other person, but we don't get to see the real picture or what are they working behind the scenes. So if we were to take this example in terms of a manager, there are many different kinds of managers that you can be. One is a full-fledged manager that you actually do everything from budgeting, financing to people management, as well as problem solving and strategic planning. But we also have managers that is just solely managing projects, which you don't actually need to have the full skill sets of a full-fledged manager. And we can also be a manager, but a manager who is an individual contributor, which means that you are the subject matter experts. So even though you do not have people directly reporting to you, but many other individuals will come to you to seek for your advice and suggestion, or even ask you a lot of questions about the area that you are specialized in. So what kind of manager are you looking, forward to? Only when you are sure about which path you are looking at and what kind of managers that you want to be, you then can actually look at what kind of skill set is required of you. So in order to really achieve your goal, you have to really understand the space as well as, how far you are going as well as exactly what do you want. So there are many occasions that after coaching the individual, and they realize that actually, I don't really think that I want to be a full-fledged manager because, I think managing people is just too difficult. There are so many different kinds of individual and 101 challenges that's awaiting for me. So I think, to be just a project manager is good enough for me. So that's really up to what you are thinking about.
No, I think this is great. Now, as people are trying to, apply this to their own situations, is it possible to be planning too far into the future? And if so, do you think there's maybe a sweet spot that people should start with?
This is a very delicate question because again, I think it depends on the industry, especially if we are looking at technical or technological industry. I will say that if you talk about planning ahead 10 to 20 years, I don't think it's possible because the technology changed so fast. And I always tell my colleagues or my learners around me that, even when you're sleeping over here in Asia Pacific, it is daytime in Europe and US, things are changing. So there's no way that you can actually stay stagnant. And therefore, if you're thinking about planning ahead, I will say that for technological, you always have to look at what's really happening right now and in near future. Whereas in other roles, maybe when it comes to health industry or in manufacturing, there is a possibility of looking further ahead because these are some industry that actually require a lot of compliance and it requires a lot of approval, governmental intervention, as well as I would say in order to change something, it always requires quite a long time. And so it's really depending in the industry that you're working in, and also what industry that you wanted to go into. Even like, for example, if I were to look at financial industry, I would think that this is an industry that's very fast forward moving, and therefore, probably when we talk about long term means maybe 3 to 5 years to them. Whereas when we talk about, health industry, long term can be 5 to 10 years. So that's a very big difference.
Yeah, of course. No, this makes a ton of sense. Okay, let's talk about certain types of transitions. This person wrote in with a very specific one. They're trying to transition from a nonprofit into the tech space. They wanted to ask you to discuss the importance of having a mentor or a support network during that transition. So let's talk about this. If somebody's going up to make this transition, what kind of support do you think they should have?
Okay, so I just want to get the question right, meaning currently he or she is in a non-profit organization and moving into a technological industry.
Yeah, and they're unsure if they need like a mentor or a support network to help facilitate this.
Okay. In fact, I'm curious to know also what kind of role that they are talking about, because this is really a huge area. Many people may think that a non-profit organization is actually quite slow moving, but in fact, some non-profit organization can be very fast as well. So if you're thinking about moving from a non-profit organization to a technological industry whereby, the background is totally different, then definitely a mentor will be someone that you want to seek, because a mentor is someone that is very experienced. They have been there, they have done that, and they know about the little and big pieces of things that you probably might experience. They'll be able to share with you what are some things that you need to look for, especially they will be able to share with you the challenges and barriers that they have actually experienced, and therefore you need not actually trip over it. And at the same time, they probably also be able to point to you some resources, whether is it human resources, subject matter experts, or even technical resources that you can actually look forward to. So I think having a mentor is essential if you are moving into a different industry.
Do you have any mentors in this field? And if so, how did you get those? Or one, or I should say.
Okay, so I don't really have a mentor in this field in a sense, but if I were to really move into an area, then what I would do is that I will first tap onto my own network. So for example, from my university or from my pre-university or college time, whereby I have a whole group of friends that has been with me for a number of years. And all of us have actually moved into different industry. And definitely there are those individuals that's in technical or technological industry. And therefore, they will be the first person that I will seek out to, because one, I know them, and two, they will be most willing to help me. Yeah. So this is something that you can think about. Other than that, again, I will also rely on the community of practice. Nowadays, if you were to Google into this area, you probably can find quite a number of open resource and even subject matter experts that are willing to actually help you and share with you their experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm loving this advice. We are getting some comments and some questions in from the chat thread, so will be taking those as well. So y'all, if you've got questions, please keep sending them in. All right. Mary had asked, what should you do if you're in a work environment where you are not being nurtured to learn or improve? Could personal ambition clash with a company objective? I really like this question. Has this ever happened to you? Have you ever been in a work situation where they were not really going to foster your development?
Probably because I'm someone that always look for new challenge. I wanted to learn new things, so I haven't been in such a situation. But I have to say that a lot of time this is self-driven. If you're thinking about growing yourself, I think one of the most important thing is ask yourself, what do you want to be and what kind of skills do you want to learn? There are definitely organizations that is open to nurturing and developing you, but I also have heard before, just like what Mary you have mentioned, that organization may not have the resources to do that for you. But if you were to think about it, whatever that you are going to learn and acquire is going to be with you no matter where you go, whether it's your current job or to a new organization. I mean, I can just share an example that I had many years back. So I wanted to learn, a particular area in change management. And at that time, there was a new courses that actually came to Singapore. It was actually quite expensive. And I actually tried to put it up to my organization to actually enroll me in the course. And the reply that I get was, in your current role, you are not required to have this. And, I was disappointed. But on the second thought, I think that, okay, since the organization is not willing to sponsor me, then why not, I actually do it on my own. Because after all, I'm seeing that this is something that's going to be useful for me today and also in the near future. And therefore, out of my own pocket, I actually enrolled for the course. And guess what happened? After attending the course, I actually put these skills into use in my current organization. I mean, in the past, for the past years. And my managers was actually very appreciative of that. And he then put up a request and actually so-called refund me, the course fees that I have paid on my own. And so it's a win-win situation.
Yes, I love this. Absolutely love this. Okay, so let's talk about it. If we're in a situation where our company is not supporting us, I love this idea of going out and finding these kinds of things on your own. Are there any other things that people should know if they are trying to go out and look for opportunities to upskill? If they're trying to, find courses or anything like that, is there anything that they should look for or some things that they should avoid?
Let me share with you something because I'm sure that many of you will know that YouTube and TikTok actually do offers and host all kinds of human knowledge. So apart from that, right, if you're looking at learning new languages, there's this website called Duolingo. And there's also other websites, for example, called Ellison, which holds a wide range of skills, ranging from career skills to online marketing to photography and even to geography. So they do have all these open source learning that you can actually tap on. And other learning sites may require a little subscription fees, and you can actually explore in terms of linking, Skillshare, Udemy or Coursera. And for me, I also actually relies on some great university resources. One of the resources that I always rely on is the Harvard Business Review. And also there are others like, for example, www.edx.org. This is a space whereby that hosts various university open courses. And other than that, you can consider MIT OpenCourseware, Open Yale courses, or even Cornell University online courses. So all these universities out there, they do have online resources. Some of it may require you to pay some fees, but some of it is actually free of charge. So these are different things that you can actually tap on. And whatever that I share with you are just some of them. There are a lot more that you can actually find. So it's depending on what specific areas that you want to look into. Even when it comes to technology, there are a few that you can actually tap on as well. So I'm sure all of you will know about, the Microsoft Learn, and there's also other, tech that you can actually go into as well.
I love this. I love all this advice. And just to reiterate what Peggy had said, y'all, you don't have to throw good money after bad on this. Look and see what you can learn for free first, because that can, in a lot of ways help you to try and figure out oh, okay, I don't actually need this course because all I really want to learn is this part of it. So yeah, I think that is absolutely great advice. And thank you, Mary, for taking notes in the chat here. Mary was able to grab the resources that Peggy listed. So thank you so much, Mary.
Yeah. And Meg, I think it's good that it's good that you mentioned about for us it is important for us to first explore what is online, and the reason can be very simple. So for example, I was mentoring some youth and they are looking at after graduating what kind of career they want to be, or what kind of industry they want to go into. In fact, there are so many out there in the market that they do not know. So and in terms of youngsters nowadays, when you first ask them questions, they will talk about, oh, I wanted to be someone that is to develop, the game software. I wanted to be a professional gamer and all sorts of things. And so the very first thing that I actually asked them, do you know exactly what you're going into? Do you know what is required of you to becoming a good professional gamer, as well as to be able to develop game software? And so again, I actually advise them to try some online courses, go for short online courses and see whether is it, what you are looking for. And also seek, advice and ask around people who are already in this field, so that you really understand what you are actually, where you're actually going into. And in fact, there are individuals after taking some short courses and realize that, oh, I don't think this is what I want. Yeah. And one of the examples that I have was a few years back, there's this particular graduates that came and was asking about, he wanted to go into a tourism line because, at the back of his mind, he was thinking about, oh, going to the tourism line, it allows me to travel to different countries. But however, what happened was, he then learned that it is not just about traveling. Traveling it may seem very prestigious, but it also comes with a lot of stress. Because, imagine you're actually leading a group of people, 20 and 30 of them, to a different country. You have to take care of their well-being. And not only that, you also have to make sure that, you've got good, I would say, partnership with the so-called agency on the other side. There are so many things that you need to take care about. And so after a while, he realized that, okay, I don't think this is what I want. Because I was only thinking about good to travel, but I didn't know that there's so much of responsibility and stress and pressure that can be on me. And especially, if we talk about peak seasons, whereby the airport is always full and sometimes the plane is delayed, this is really a huge stress, whereby you need to pacify your customer, as well as also ensuring that even when they get on to the other side of the world, that everything is still arranged for them. So again, there are many unknown factors, and only when you speak to people who are experienced that you get to learn all the sweet things as well as the bitter things that's happening in the industry.
I like this. And this also seems like a good opportunity to rely on that network, right? To kind of ask around or make sure that you're getting a global perspective on wherever it is you think you're going. Yeah, I very much like this. This is really great advice. All right, so let's talk about people who are transitioning into these new fields, especially if you've had to learn something new, right? If you've had to, upgrade your skill set in a specific area. What are some ways that people can bridge that gap between I learned this in school versus I've had practical experience in the working world? There's only so much you can do, and if you're not in that field already, then you don't have the experience. So what are some ways that people can talk about this or kind of leverage that learned experience in contrast to a lack of like on the job experience?
Mm-hmm. I will say that this is an area that is how should I say, not easy to bridge, but yet it is something that is possible, because a lot of time, especially in the university, most probably what we learn are very theoretical, but what is happening out there in the market is really something that we have not experienced before. So I would think that, given any opportunity, as an individual, if you are still in the university, try to take on any internship, or even when it comes to during holidays, try to take up part-time jobs. Explore, the organization as well as industry that you are in. And in fact, if you were to, I think in most of the country, if you were to look out for the career website, you tend to get, opportunity to see all these internship as well as summer jobs that you can get. And I think that would be a good resource. And other than that, if you are already out of university and you still have not had this experience, again, I will say that, go to those professional network and hear from them, and also seek out a mentor. And if not, going back to your university, go to your university career resource department. Those counselors down there, they have all sorts of information. They will be able to point you to the right resource. And in fact, I would say they are very trained in this area. They'll be able to give you advice and as well as telling you what is your next step. And I will say that again, in the university platform or even institute nowadays, they do have all these career consultant that's able to actually help you also looking into how to write a good resume, how to write a good CV, and even prepare you in terms of the interviews. These are all important things and also very critical things that you need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And absolutely, y'all, I can absolutely second the like go to take up your wherever you got your college education, or if you went to community college, whatever it is, like go back to them, see if they have alumni programs, see if they have career help programs. There's truly plenty of this stuff out there that does not get utilized because people just don't know about it. So ask around. All right, let's look into kind of how your personal life can weigh in on this in this area. Are there any specific like time management techniques or tools that you recommend for tech professionals who are trying to juggle continuous learning with work and family life, or work and I should say personal life?
Mm. Frankly speaking, I will say that, when we talk about time management, it is talking about our personal management. So how do you manage your personal life, in order to actually have a so-called harmony in terms of your with your work as well. And again, there isn't a so-called how should I say, one for all kind of answer, because all of us probably are in different life phases. So we might have different priorities in our life. So for example, when we talk about young graduates that just came out from schools, they have no any commitment. So it's all about them. So it's really yourself. How do you set aside time to actually plan for all these so-called further development and learning? And in fact, I would say nowadays, in today's world, many individuals are doing part-time learning while they are still working. And why are they doing so? Because they see that it is important for them to grasp new skills. And especially if you are in a technological industry, you know that, every 3 to 6 months, new things are happening. So in order for you to catch up, you really have to set aside time to actually learn new skills. And I used to always advise individual that every week, set aside half an hour to an hour to just for your own development. Not necessarily, going for online courses. It can be reading through books or reading through the, I would say, industry magazine. In fact, the magazine out there for different industry does give you a lot of resources. They talk about the latest changes. They even share about what are the latest software that they are using, what is the upcoming trend. And so it actually gives you a lot of different perspective. And having said that, I will say that like I say, different phase of life, you have different challenges. So how much time do you want to spend with your family, with your friends, at work, and for your own development is really your own equation. No one can actually help you to let you know which is the right equation for you, because you are the only person who knows what you really want. And therefore, the simple answer is managing yourself. Um, you know, what I actually share with people is, draw a pie chart. And then in the pie chart, you can divide the pie chart into different pie. One pie is for your home life. One pie is for your, social life. And one pie is for your working life. And at the same time, don't forget about your own hobbies. And the other things that I will say that, not necessarily everything that you wanted to learn is through so-called at work or even in your social setup. The other opportunity that I see a lot, and I also myself, I do experience, is actually volunteering. When you volunteer in a different cause, you actually get to learn different things, especially if you are volunteering, helping to actually manage an event. In fact, you learn about a lot of things. Time management is one of them, collaborating with others, negotiation, and even how to actually manage different stakeholder. So there are so much things that you can learn. And if you are someone that prefer to do something for the nature, there's also volunteering opportunity out there. So like cleaning the beach. For myself, one of the things that I did quite regularly on an annual basis is, like, for example, participating in Singapore and park so-called survey, whereby I actually survey the birds, migrating birds coming into Singapore. I even survey about butterflies and dragonflies. So, I took this opportunity to actually experience the nature while doing volunteering work. And all this actually helps me to maintain a good well-being as well. So there are so many things that you can do out there. And one of the experience that I had was I volunteer with an engineering non-profit organization. So basically, what we did is we do little small gadgets that actually help non-profit organization like the elderlies or some homes to supply them with things that is going to help them in their I would say necessity, essential life. Yeah. So try out, volunteering is one of them.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think what you're saying makes a ton of sense. And it also, kind of reminds me of the fact that for me at least, the thing that screws up the planning or the result of it is me being so tied to how I think it's going to look in my head, right? Thinking like, oh, this is the pathway that's going to get me where I need to go, and then deciding that is it. And so I think it is really, really good to kind of remember that, as you're trying to do this work-life balance or work-life integration, it might not look like what you thought it would look like. And that's okay as long as it's working for you. So I think that is really, really awesome. And I love hearing about your volunteer stuff too, because I mean, this is also something that we talk about with people that are transitioning, between fields is, utilize things like your volunteer work that can help kind of illustrate what your skills are or really call out and highlight some of your more transferable soft skills. I think this is really, I'm loving all of this. This is really good advice here. All right. We've got a little less than 15 minutes left. So if y'all have questions, please feel free to keep sending them in. I've collected every question that I've seen so far. We did have some people asking if they will be able to get a copy of the recording today. Yes, everybody that registered will get a link in your email in about 4 to 5 business days. And that'll be a link to where you can rewatch this on our website. I also did see somebody was asking questions about what companies are part of EnerSys or the EnerSys family. So I threw a link in the chat there as well. It leads back to a page on EnerSys's main website, not Powerfly, but kind of gives you a brief overview of that.
Okay,
all right. Oh yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I was just thinking that maybe I would like to sum up, in terms of how can we design our personal and professional learning in a few steps so that for those of you who are interested to know, you actually can try it out. First and foremost, I think it is very important for you to develop what we call the SMART learning goals. What exactly, is your objective and goals that you wanted to achieve? And then the second step is actually to conduct a self-assessment. So when we talk about conduct a self-assessment, we are thinking about, think ahead 3 to 5 years to assess whether you have the relevant skills and competency required to progress from your current job position. Ask yourself, what competency must be enhanced to succeed in the current role? And also, how will my past and present competency contribute to future work? What skills do I really need to bridge those gaps? And also, what advancing technology will influence the needs for me to learn? And how can I tap on them to actually help me in my progression into the next level? And the third step is actually rather critical. You have to determine your own learning style. Each of us has different learning styles. Some of us prefer so-called audio, whereby we listen to podcasts to learn. And some of us are visual learners. And therefore, face-to-face classroom training will be good. And we also have others that is what we call the kinesthetics learner that actually has to work on things in order to learn them. Having said that, I think it is important to have a hybrid of all these experiences so that you actually can register, what you have learned and be able to put them into use in the future. And apart from that, I think the fourth step is really to actually identify learning activities to support your goal. So, for example, you want to challenge yourself out of the comfort zone, you can consider different learning means. For instance, through books, industry, magazines, and journal, or even attending online TED Talks, YouTube, as well as webinar. I think one of the areas that most of the people does not really tap into is in terms of having a coach or a mentor. Because I would say this coach and mentor will be able to actually help you to see from a different perspective. They will ask you questions that gets you to think out of your comfort zone. And not to forget also in terms of finding community of practice that you can actually learn more. and join professional industrial groups. And sometimes you may also get to see possible volunteering projects that you can actually hone your skills. And after identifying all these learning activities, you then want to put this learning plan into actions. So like I mentioned before, set aside time. Some of you may say, I'm so busy, I won't have time to do that every week. Then set it in terms of, every bi-weekly or every month, set aside 1 or 2 days to actually make sure that you actually pick up something and learn something. So I would say it is all depends on you, how you want to make it work. Because time, all of us only have 24 hours, and it is whether you want to prioritize them for your future or not. Okay, so this is how I can sum it up in terms of creating your personal and professional learning plan. Back to you, Meg.
I love that advice there. Couple things that I wanted to ask. When it comes to creating this plan, how often do you go back and revisit or revise it?
Usually, I will look at it in a quarterly basis. The reason why I say quarterly basis is also because sometimes, some work may just pop up, or even there may be times whereby I realize that the skills that I prioritize may not be relevant right now at this time. So I do have to reprioritize them. So that is why quarterly is a good, I think, a space for you to relook into your learning plan. And also, it gives you time to actually check out your progress, whether are you actually achieving what you have planned out.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. It's a different subject matter, but I follow this woman on Instagram, and she's learning how to blow glass, and she's kind of doing a self-paced study thing. And one of the things she does is she draws out her skill tree, and that's how she's gonna get herself to this point. And it's one of those things that I found really cool because I've never seen anybody do lay this all out like this, especially in terms of like a creative endeavor or trying to learn to do something that relies on that skill. So I think it's really, really awesome to think in terms of not just what you're learning now, but what you want to learn in the future, not just what you're doing work-wise right now, but like kind of building in a little bit of buffer or a little bit of safety net there to give yourself room to adjust, right? It's life happens. You're going to have times where you have way more time to learn and kind of advance your skills. So I think that sounds like a really good plan. How often
Yes.
have you found that you got started in something and then we're like, oh no, this is done. I have to change my entire plan. Does that happen often to you?
I would say not very often, but it does happen. Especially I have quite a number of business travel. And so what I have to do is that I have to take the initiative to actually go back to the provider to extend the time. So for this year, in fact, I have so much of travel that I was not able to complete one of the certifications course that I set for myself. And therefore, I actually, approach them and share with them some of the plan that I have. And I do actually get this exception, which I'm glad that I had. And so I'm sure that I'm going to complete that certification. Oh, and talking about that, if you require something that actually, if you want to build up a skills, let's say, for example, a presentation skills, and you feel that you need someone to push you, then one great resource that I can think about is Toastmaster. If you go into Toastmaster International, you will realize that around the world in every country, there's actually Toastmaster. And if you were to join them, they do have a structured program. And so, in a way, you are being so-called, not to say forced, but you actually put yourself in that situation that you will have to complete, within a few months' times. And you do have people around you that support you. So apart from, I would say, Toastmaster, there are many other organization or association that have similar concept as well. So do tap on them if you realize that doing it alone is difficult for you and you need someone to push you. And I
Yeah,
think another great resource is to share your plan with your friends, your managers, your colleagues, have them hold you accountable, have them check on you. I think that is another great move as well.
yeah. I mean, honestly, it makes a ton of sense. I mean, it's something that going back to toxic diet culture in the US in the 80s and 90s was one of the things they said, right? Was tell your friends, tell somebody that this is your intention because it kind of holds you to it. I love that. And I very much, as someone who like, I have major ADHD. I love learning things. I love structure, but I fight against it constantly. And so I very much appreciate your Toastmaster idea because you're right. I mean, that is something that, yeah, you're taking the initiative, you're enrolling yourself in something, but it is something with deadlines and with a structure to it. So I think that's wonderful. I love this idea. All right, last question I have for you. Let's talk about the support within the work environment. I think it's no surprise to anybody in this chat that most of tech has been male dominated for a very long time, and obviously there's also a very real glass ceiling when it comes to women and minorities and historically underrepresented or marginalized people. So, how do you think that workplaces can try and foster a more supportive environment for their team members, especially team members who might be very different than what the rest of the team looks like?
Mm. I would say that one of the things that we always look into is inclusiveness and diversity. So even in my current organization, EnerSys, I think we have actually, promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we do have different learning communities to fulfill different objectives as well as the needs of people. I'm not sure about other organizations, but I do know that many organizations do have their own platform. So one of the best resource that you can check out in your own organization is the intranet or even the internet, whereby they host all the different information. So in terms of organization information, in terms of learning and development, and all sorts of things. And I will say that don't be afraid to go to your colleagues who are from a different department, because if you ask, I'm sure they will be willing to help you. It's always start with you. As long as you take the step forward to ask, most people will be willing to actually, extend their hand to actually help you or even give you advice. And I think that is one of the better way in terms of really seeking help and support in terms of your own developmental journey. The other thing is broaden your network. Don't always, have lunch and dinner or tea break with the same group of people. Have it with people that's outside your normal group. Have it with people that's cross-functional or even cross-regional. And how do you do cross-regional? Have a virtual tea session, have a virtual, break time with our colleagues across the different region. And that will help you to establish, in terms of your visibility, in terms of your own subject matter experts. Share with them what you have to offer, and I'm sure in return they will share with you what they can offer as well. And that's how you actually get to learn more things and looking at different perspectives too.
I like that. And it's also, it's good idea and good advice to help utilize the results of that continuous learning that we talked about, right? Is kind of passing this information on and sharing it. And as weird or as uncomfortable as it could be to ask somebody to teach you something, try and remember the last time somebody asked you to teach them something and try and remember how that felt. Because it feels really good when somebody comes to you and is like, hey, I see that you know what you're doing. Can you show me how to do what you're doing? So just remember, y'all, like these relationships are two-way streets, and just because you're the one asking and trying to learn something now does not mean that you will not be in a position to teach other people later on, or that you will not be in a position to be able to teach that person in particular, something that that they don't. So I love this advice. All right, in our last 2 minutes, I did want to ask you one question. If you had a friend going into an interview with EnerSys, what's the advice you would give them?
I would say be authentic and share with the interviewer what you know best, how you can actually bring values to the organization. And I think what is important is also to share, what you have done so far that actually differentiate you, with any candidates. Because only you have the experience in the particular area that you are doing. Don't be afraid to share, your successes. So a lot of time, many individuals may feel that, probably what I'm going to share, they may not think about it. But why not just share? And then at least they get to see what you have done and have them then decide whether that is actually valuable to the organization. And I think most importantly, it's not just about them asking you questions. Be prepared. Ask questions ask your interviewer question. Ask them, what are some of the key characteristics that they were expecting for someone to be successful in that role that you are interviewing for. So do go prepared, ask them questions, and get yourself, ready for the interview. So be confident. Nobody knows what you have, only yourself, and therefore you are there to shine in front of them.
Oh, there we go. Y'all, I do this how many times a week, and at least once per call, I lose my mute button. No, I think that's excellent advice. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much for being here today too, Peggy. It's been really wonderful to get to know you and get to learn from you a little bit. Thank you so, so much for sharing your time and your expertise with us. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Matt, and thank you everyone for the questions. Every of these sessions actually helps me to grow, because by looking through the questions that all of you are asking and answering them actually helps me to put, things into perspective, and it actually helps me to think ahead as well. What else is out there that I really need to explore. So thank you for all your time and for the valuable questions.
Thank you. And again, echoing that, thank you to our audience members. Obviously, I have a job because you come to events like this, but I'm even more pleased that y'all came to this today, because you just took 60 minutes out of your day to do something positive for yourself and your career. This is not an easy thing in this day and age. So whether you are a little treat person or not, please give yourself a pat on the back, a gold star, a cookie, whatever your thing is. Because I'm proud of y'all. I'm really proud of y'all for coming here today and joining in with us. All right, y'all, that's going to bring us to the end of time today. But again, thank you all so, so much for spending time today with me, with Power to Fly, as well as with Peggy from EnerSys. If you're at all curious about EnerSys, I shared links for their page in the chat as we go. So definitely check them out. And you can keep an eye out for the link being emailed to y'all for the recording of today's session in about 4 to 5 business days. If this was your first Power to Fly event, I sincerely hope it will not be your last. And whether this was your first event or your 40th, we cannot wait to see you to join us again on an upcoming session. Have a safe, happy, healthy day, week, and weekend. Cannot wait to see you back here later. Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye. Thank you.